where do things stand, best you can tell? Because we did hear from the NHL this week a format.
Yeah.
Man, you're seeing baseball having all sorts of collective bargaining arguments, it seems, that's bubbling to the surface. Where are things with the NBA, its union, and an announcement or for readiness to play again?
I think the NBA union situation is much better in terms of cooperation with the league than the baseball unions is. I mean, that just seems to be spiraling, out of control in baseball. The basketball union is working pretty much hand in glove with the league. I mean, there is literally a joint committee that's trying to come up with different scenarios. Now, they're not anywhere near finished yet, but they are working together. The union has basically signed off on, Orlando as the site of a playoff, tournament, whatever format that ultimately becomes. The basketball players put money into escrow for the use of the owners in case the season were to be canceled for whatever reason. So the owners have some sort of financial certainty in terms of their losses being, stanched somewhat, right, for the rest of this year. So the biggest thing, Rich, is that both the players and the owners both want to play. They both want this to continue. They want the season to continue, and they want it to conclude with postseason play and having a champion. So my experience with the league over many years is that when the players and the owners both want something to happen, it tends to happen. And so I think that's why, there is a lot of optimism, bordering almost on certainty, that there's going to be, a resumption of play at some point, probably in July, that would last into September at some point before it concludes with the finals.
Any idea if it's a two hub city, all one hub city, anything of that nature?
I think right now, I know there's been talk, about Houston as a possibility, but I know that Bob Iger's been pushing very hard for Orlando and Disney World. And again, I think the players in the main, you're not going to get 100% support on anything, but I think in the main, most players, most of their agents, there are some agents still holding out for Vegas for different reasons, but most people are all pointing in the direction of Orlando. Now, the shape of that will be determined by how many teams are in the tournament, how many regular season games you play. Do you play all those regular season games in Orlando? Do you play them off-site somewhere else? Do you play them in another city? That's maybe where another city comes in. But I think the coalition behind having your playoff tournaments with however many teams qualify in Orlando has pretty much been signed off on by all the important parties involved.
Well, I'll tell you this: if I'm a player with a family and I got kids, and I want to bring them into the, to use the phrase, bubble community, Disney World wouldn't be a bad place if everybody can be. Let me know they're safe.
Yeah,
the kids can do that while Dad tries to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. I mean, that would be something I'd be more inclined to attempt.
Yeah, and that's part of it. That is definitely part of it. Is that there's just more for the families to do, for the kids to do, even for the players to do on off days. I mean, you can go play golf in Orlando on an off day.
True.
On one of their 87 golf courses that they have
right
down there.
Right.
Whereas Vegas, it's not that Orlando isn't hot in the summer. It is. It's not that it's not humid. It is, but it's not 107 like it was yesterday in Las Vegas. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You can't go outside in Las Vegas in the summertime. You just can't. There's not much to do that doesn't give you, heat stroke. So, you've got to, so that's where I think a lot of people are leaning more towards Orlando than Vegas. Even though Vegas, in some ways, probably has more experience and would be easier to control a hotel, or at least a chain of hotels. If you had the Wynn and Encore, if you had Mandalay Bay and all, you could probably control that a little bit more, but there would be far less for families to do.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.